Welcome, everyone. I'm Julie DeBoer and Sue Rigger's here. Rigger, sorry, already did it. Awesome. Welcome to Mastrius. If this is your first time with us, it's great to have you. The Painting Challenge is a fantastic event to dive in with. So I'll give you kind of the runaround on the event. There's two parts to it. So today and then next week, Friday, the same time, is our showcase. So today we're going to watch Sue paint. We'll share the reference photo and painting shortly. You can put your questions in the chat, or you can just turn on your microphone and ask. And we're going to see how she does painting and talking at the same time. The purpose of this event at Mastrius, we are very much about helping artists find their style and find their voice and kind of delve into their own work. So it's not necessarily about learning how to paint like Sue, but to learn her technique and get the encouragement of her expertise so that we can apply it to our own work. So what we would love for you to do, if you're going to paint with us live, that's cool. If you want to just watch and paint later, that's great. You are welcome to take that reference photo and do whatever you want with it. Or you can do a photo floral of your own. If you have a photo you've been itching to paint, you're welcome to paint it in Sue's style, kind of as she's going to show, or to tackle it in your own style. We'd love to see you take artistic license and to paint it your way. And next week, Friday, we're going to get back together if you're available, and Sue will join us, and we're going to share everyone's paintings. So you'll have a week to paint, and then you can send them to us at Mastrius. You can post it on Instagram and tag Mastrius Painting Challenge or hashtag Mastrius Painting Challenge. We're going to collect your images, put them in a beautiful presentation, and then next week, Friday, we're going to look at everyone's paintings with Sue. And then Sue can give us some encouragement and feedback on our painting. And really the purpose is to celebrate how different they're all going to be. And that's the sweetest highlight of this event, is that they're going to be so unique and we can celebrate our uniqueness. Next week, there's also some gifts, the kind of prizes, except that we're not a competitive community. So we're going to give one Mastrius member a painting apron and a non-member a membership to our recording library so that you can become a member at Mastrius. And I think that's it. Any questions before we dive in? Okay, I'm going to spotlight Sue.
Hi, everybody. Welcome and thank you. I'm just honored to have each and every one of you here. First, before I even get started, if you're planning to paint along with me, I have put a tone or a ground or an underpainting, whatever you want to call it, of CAD red medium on mine. And you can go ahead and put that on while I talk. I'm going to give you a few introductory ideas to think about. My goal today, as Julie said, Julie, you read my mind. I don't want you to learn to paint in my style. I want you to feel confident in your own style. And I'm going to give you some pointers so that you'll have more consistent results that you're happy with. So first off, everybody asks me, why did you choose red? I don't always use red as my underpainting, but because this reference picture has a lot of green in it, I don't know if that came up so well, but I'd go to my greens. There's my example painting. And then look at the color opposite that, because in this case, I'm going to use the complement. And then I put that kind of reddish color all over here. And the reason for doing that is to, first off, it takes the intimidation of having a blank canvas away. And then you never have to worry about unfinished bits. Further, if you let a little bit of that underpainting show through in places, it's going to give your painting a unity. It's also going to create a dynamics because it's the complementary color of the green. So there's going to be an energy, but you can use any color really. So that's to start off with. Secondly, I want to tell you, I'm going to be transparent. A couple of years back, I was really intimidated about painting glass. I was scared of it. And I went to a workshop and the instructor said, it's just, you see right through it, just paint what you see. And I've found with painting it over and over and over again that in fact, you can really simplify it a lot and end up, your brain just says, oh, that's glass. So let me encourage you to go ahead and, try it. So the first thing we need to do when we're drawing and painting glass is draw it effectively. I'm going to give you a little secret. Let's say this is, we're doing a cylindrical glass vase. So when you look at it from the top, it's like a circle, or from the bottom, it's a circle. Let's say this is that circle. At eye level, that circle becomes just a line. It's just a line. I'm trying to set it up for you. And the further away from eye level you get, the more that ellipse becomes a circle. So first thing I do when I'm looking at a reference pick is decide where that eye level is. And in this case, does it show up? I don't know if it does.
Yep.
In this case, eye level is actually above the glass vase. And then, so that ellipse, if there were a water level, it would be, you'd see a little bit of an ellipse. And then at the bottom, there's an even bigger curve. So those are some of the things I'm thinking of when I'm drawing. So I'm going to sketch in chalk. You can use whatever your favorite thing to sketch in. Chalk on this is going to show up nicely, I hope. You could use vine charcoal. You could use paint on a small brush. So the very first thing I would think of is, first of all, where do I want to place my subject? And it's helpful to imagine 4 quadrants when you're doing this. And on my painting, I placed that vase a little bit off center. Just wanted to have some fun and create interest. But I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And the next thing I want to do is establish where is the center of my vase. So I'm going to just draw a vertical line. And here I'm stepping back and I'm using my whole arm. That will help you to get a straight line. When you're using just your wrist on any of this, you're not going to get as good of a result. All right. So then how wide is my vase? It's about there, about that wide. So now when you do your ellipse, and I'm going to move this camera in a minute when I start to paint so you can see better. Okay. When you do an ellipse, you're going to want to hover your arm and just get the ellipse moving. And then when you're happy with what you're drawing, drop it down. And there it is. So you can get rid of the extraneous, the extra lines that you see. In fact, in this, you don't even really see the back of that ellipse. You just see the front of it. So there that is. And then should I move that camera now?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I can move it a little bit closer for you.
Okay.
Give me a second. Sorry, everybody.
A little bit to the left. Yeah.
How's that?
Ooh, perfect.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next important thing when you're doing hydrangeas especially is, it seems to me this little edge of the petals, it says so much about hydrangeas. So when I'm sketching these puppies, I do pay attention to them. So if this is my center cross, my flowers here are a little bit below the center. And I really don't pay a lot of attention to try to get these perfect, but I do get some of the distinctive petals on there, if that makes sense. They're going to come up here. I can change these as I go along. It's more of a playful line than it is exact. It's like I give myself a whole lot of liberty. Okay, then stems. I love what happens to stems when they hit the water. If there's a water line, you get this refraction thing, which I can show you in a different lesson, but we don't really see that here. I'm just going to sketch in some lines where stems are. Remember I said, you can take a lot of liberty. You don't have to be like real exact on these, okay? So I got this one, I got some little verticals and then 2 of them that go off like this. That's enough. And then over here, my blue one, I got a leaf here. It's okay to invent leaves too if you need them for your composition. You find an empty space or something. One thing we don't want to do when we're doing hydrangeas is make snowballs because they really aren't round. So there's that. All right, let's get to some paint. Now the fun, now the fun.
Awesome.
Okay,
Folks,
go ahead.
I put the reference photo and Sue's painting image are links in the chat if you want to pull that up on your screen. They're there for you. And actually, I'll share the reference photo for the sake of the recording. I'll just do that right away here.
Using titanium white. This is cadmium yellow medium. I use a cadmium free. I don't know if you know this, but cadmium paints, you can absorb that heavy metal cadmium through your skin. So either use gloves or wash it off right away or get the cad free. I use a cadmium red medium. And it actually has a little bit of yellow in it, so it doesn't make a real nice pink. If you're painting pink, you want to get a different red.
And is your brand Liquitex? Is that what you prefer?
I am using Liquitex today, and I do like it. Yeah. Okay. Here's cerulean blue. And I'm going to use phthalo blue green shade. Phthalo blue, if you mix that with that cad red, it makes a beautiful rich black. And for that reason, I don't buy black, except abstracts, I buy black. Okay, brushes, I'm going to start with, these are long handled flats. I'm going to start with a number 4. I always work from dark to light, and I'm going to start with my greens. I'm going to start with my stems. Okay, here we go.
Dive in.
Yeah, dive in, baby. We got some phthalo blue, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of, Julie, remind me to talk about warm and cool greens. Okay.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so can you see what I'm mixing there? I hope you can.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot of paint on that brush, but I want you to notice, let's see, when you have too much paint on that flat brush, you're not going to get a little skinny line, but you can get a real fine line with these flat brushes if you want, which is helpful when you're painting stems. So let's just get basically this, like just a rough idea where these are. I'm going to just put in a couple of these. Those are the background pieces of stems. I'm going to add a little more of the yellow to get the pieces that are standing in front of those. I'm not going to worry about these too much at this point because I will be coming back to them. Look, I didn't even draw in these leaves. That's okay though, because I'm going to pop them in here. You're going to notice as I paint that I let the brush do a lot of the work. I know that a brush has shapes that it likes to make, and I let it, I turn it loose. So it's a lot less work for me to let that brush make a leaf shape than it is for me to go in and like real finely do every little outline. And I kind of let it be more organic. Yes, Julie.
Can I just confirm the colors you used? Phthalo blue, cad red, and cad yellow?
Phthalo blue, cad red, cad yellow at this point, yes. You could find, let me show you what the cerulean blue looks like. Phthalo blue is a really strong color. So you only need a tiny bit, and it can tend to look a little bit plasticky when you're doing a green. So you will need to add maybe a touch of red or something to kind of tame it, just tame it. Okay. So now I'm using a little cerulean just to show you the difference. You might not even notice it because I do have some of that phthalo in there. I got this big round thing there. See how I'm holding my brush towards the end? This is a long handle brush. And I'm standing, and I always tell my students, stand up, stand back, and that will help you to paint loosely. The more you get away from using it like a pen, the better you will find. If your goal is to get loose, then that will that will be better for you. You can see that I am really taking liberty in those shapes, but it says leaves, doesn't it? Next thing I look for is I squint my eyes at my flowers and I look for darks and lights, because the next thing I'm going to do is just block in. I'm not going to be painting petals, and I am going to exaggerate this one. I'm going to say it's really darker down in here, and this one is dark down around here. So I'm just going to block in some dark and light shapes. Since I've got green on my brush already, I'm going to go with that green, some phthalo blue, some red. My paint is starting to dry. I'm going to spritz it. These little spritzers are great. You can get these at like a drugstore for where the travel section is.
It's just water.
Great. Just water, just to keep my paint from drying out there. Okay, we're looking for the darkest greens here with this green hydrangea. So can you see how I've heard people call this either a fairy wand or a sword? So depending on your mood, pull out your fairy wand and get some darks and lights in there. And this basically is a layer. You're going to be building on this layer. It takes me, I think, 2 or 3 layers before I really feel like my painting is finished. And usually the final layer is the lightest, the highlights and the lightest petals on the flowers. So then I'm going to lighten that up. I'm going to add a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. I'm adding yellow because where the sun hits these petals, I want to use a warmer, this is what I wanted to mention, Julie, a warmer green. So with green, you really can cool it off or warm it up by adding warm and cool colors. This is where your color wheel is going to come in super handy. If you don't have one, you might want to get one. This is like real affordable on Amazon. So to warm up a green, you want to add some of the warm colors, red, orange, yellow, and to cool it off, you would add the cool colors, purple, blue, and green. Of course, you already got green, but here we go. Also, forgive my every few strokes, it's a good idea to go back and change your color a little bit. Here I'm adding a little more yellow just to change it up because there's so much variety in these petals, right? And look how quickly I'm already suggesting a hydrangea. Like easy, right? Fun. That's the idea. We're, no matter what our goal is when we're painting, whether we're professional and we want to sell, or we're just doing it because the joy of painting, we want to hold on to the fun of it, because I think the fun shows in our work, doesn't it? What do you think, Julie? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I love watching you paint. It looks so, to see you putting the paint down, it's so delicious.
Oh, that's sweet to hear. Okay, I got phthalo blue here. And I'm seeing that my hydrangea is kind of a little bit of a purpley blue. So I'm going to add a little tiny bit of red, and I'm going to add some white so I can see what color I'm working with. And then I'm going to slam in my darkest areas, which is down here. The sun can't get to it. The light's coming from above, but I'm going to say it's mostly coming from here. So in this area is going to be darkest. Makes sense? Beautiful. Anybody have questions? A little more red. I did a few strokes. Now I'm changing up my color. I'm letting some of that red show through from my underpainting layer. I'm going to lighten it up now. I'm going to stay with that cooler blue because the sun's not directly hitting these. And I want to show you this while that is drying. I have this, can you see this little square of paper up here? All right. Yeah. So here I got this flat brush and I wanted to show you, I'll show you with white because it shows up best. I want you to take a piece of paper when you're painting and just get some paint on your brush and figure out what kind of shapes that brush wants to make. Sometimes those really are very petal-like, aren't they? So also I'm going to take a paper towel because as I've been working, that paint has worked its way down to the ferrule. So my bristles are starting to flay a little bit. You can't really see it, but I can see it. So I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to just wipe the excess off. And now I've got like a skinny little end at the end there. Pick up a little paint and I'll show you what you can do now. Look, so now you get a line, and sometimes with hydrangeas, you do see like just the edge of that petal, so using the brush the way it wants to go, it makes it fun and it's so easy. So there you go. Now you might want to get really careful about observing those petals, and you can do that. Go for that. I tend to I want to just let my brush make some shapes that look like petals, and I'm happy with that because I'm not the most patient person, so I don't go real realistic. So basically from here, what ends up happening with my flowers is I'll get a little more detailed as I build that up. So here we go. I'm going to go back to the green because it's probably almost dry. I'm going to give this a spritz of water. And let's see. Let's go with my cooler greens. This is cerulean blue, yellow, and a little phthalo. And I'm going to get a little bit more of a petal-like looking stuff going on down here. If that makes any sense. I'm looking back and forth to my reference pick to see where those darks and light are. And I've done several strokes, so it's time to change that up. So you notice that I only have I've got 4 colors out plus white. And by limiting my palette that much, I've made it much easier on myself to achieve color harmony in my painting. Mm-hmm. And what I also do as I'm painting is I will take some paint from my previous puddle that I mixed and add it in as I work around. And that also creates that some people call that a mother color, mom. And because you're using a mother color, all of the other colors in your painting would be related. So it's really, really fun because you do get colors that play well together. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to move into the sunny part here. So I'm going to warm up my green with some yellow and lighten it with white. Okay, looking at my reference pick. Oh, look, not quite light enough, so more white. And I usually work up my flowers and then I go in and do my background. Does that make sense? A little more yellow up in here. And I can see I'm getting quite kind of a blobby look there. So I'm going to take some paint off my brush. Anybody have questions?
I'm just noticing how generous you are with the paint, which is something I hear a lot. Don't be stingy with paint. Be really generous.
Oh, that's always a good thing to keep on your mind. I catch myself getting thin with paint. If you have a hard time doing that, if you're worried about the expense of paint, either work smaller or buy a paint that is a little less expensive, like Lucas Krill, for example, or Nova paints are really great, and they're not going to break the bank like golden wood, although golden is such a treat. All right, I'm going to move on from that one.
There's a comment from Diane. Thanks for such a clear demonstration of the color mixing. Love the mother color idea.
Oh, lovely. Thanks for the feedback. I really appreciate that. All right, let's go on to that blue. I'll get a little more detail on that because I want to get to this background before I run out of time with you guys. And we can really do a lot more together.
Yeah, we're at 25 minutes. You're doing great.
Nice. All right, now I've got sort of I used some red and cerulean, but it's really too red for my liking. So I'm going to add some more blue. And just, I like you to just play with colors because you'd be amazed that even if you're adding grays to these, it's going to end up looking like hydrangeas. And you can be very playful and give yourself some freedom. Okay. I'm going to add some white. I might even add a touch of that green from before, in keeping with our mother color idea. And you can see, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that I have strayed a lot from my reference pick. A reference pick in my book it's just there to give me a feel for these flowers. Like I look at that and say, well, what kind of feeling do these petals have? Instead of being a slave to it, I can go ahead then and just paint for the fun of it without, for me, that works. Now for you, I give you liberty to go ahead in there and be careful about each of these little petals. I see other painters do that and they get just gorgeous results. So anything goes, right? Anything goes. I'm going to do one that looks a little like a flower there. And this one here, there's one here. So I feel like every once in a while I can do something that actually looks like a petal, and then that's going to carry the rest of the flowers. Okay, let's move on. The reason why I chose this reference pick is because of these gorgeous subtle pastel warm colors in the glass. And I can tell you right now, I didn't make my glass long enough in my sketch. So even if I had started painting and then realized that, that's fine, because guess what? Acrylic lets you paint right over it. So it takes all the stress out of it. I love that about acrylic paint. So I'm going to drop this down a little further.
And just to answer your question, Lynn, Sue is squirting her palette with a little bit of water from a spray bottle every few minutes.
Right.
I'm trying out. Yep.
Okay. Does that look better? I think so. Okay, I'm going to start here on my sample painting. I actually sometimes do this just for fun. I leave a line of that background color peeking through in around things, and it kind of helps define the glass. There is really no line there in the reference pick. I just like the look of that. I just think that's fun. Let's take another closer look at what we actually see in this glass. Oh, I heard a funny noise. Everything okay?
Oh, that was my computer. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good. So I'm seeing sort of a gray, here, squint your eyes. It's not a round ellipse. There's actually kind of a straight line at the backside of that ellipse at the bottom. And then I see a highlight here. And you'll watch, I really don't copy that exactly, but we'll see. We shall see. So when I mix a gray, I use the 3 different primary colors and add white. So I already have some blue here. I'm going to add some yellow and some red. And then if you add white, it will give you a better idea of what color you're actually working with, whether you need to get it more blue, more red, or more white. This one looks really green to me, and I'm looking for more of a blue gray down here. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of phthalo blue, maybe cerulean, just working back and forth with those colors until I feel happy. Now it's still looking very green to me. So the opposite of green is red. So let's add a little bit of red to neutralize that green. And if you push it too far, that's okay. You just pull it back. That's getting really close. That's close. Is it good in value? It might be a bit dark because I know acrylic paint dries darker. So you can go a little lighter than you expect. All right, let's see what we got. I got a loaded brush and I don't want it to be making a big fat mark. I'm still using my number 4. That's okay. So I'm going to go for that back mark first. It's almost straight across, and back here it loops up. Normally I would be turning my painting to be able to do this a little better. I'm going to add a little bit of phthalo blue to get this darker over here. Okay. And then that color is even bluer and more neutral heading up here. So I added a little red and a little blue. I'm just going to put, I know that I'm going to, Carrie knows this too. I always come back in and do highlights after everything's dry. So I don't bother putting the highlights in at this phase. That's okay. All right. A little more white right in here. And then a lot more white for the base of that, right? Look at the values. Value is more important than color. So that by value, I mean how light and how dark a color is. So if you can get the value right, it's not going to matter whether it's a little bit too blue or too red, because that value is going to speak everything you need it to say. All right, I'm going to rinse my brush out because it's just too full of that color, too full of paint. Did you ever rinse your brush out in your coffee?
Once.
Not right. All right, I'm seeing a darker line. I don't think you can see this, but down at the bottom of the glass, there's a darker value right down in there. I'm going to see if I can get that in. And as promised, I'm going to use some of this red and phthalo blue to get a nice rich black. How dark that is, isn't that pretty? And I'm going to just get a line in there.
Nice. It really sits it down.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. I like the way you said that. And I'll come back in and get the highlight over that. There's a little dark bit over here. And there's this comes over further, the stem. But I'd like to put a little bit of highlight action in those stems themselves to sink them back and bring them forward here and there. So now let's move on to that kind of pastel warm color that's in the glass. So right along in here, it's like a pinky yellow, peachy yellow, and then it becomes more peach colored over here, but it's basically the same color, just I'm going to move it through. So to get that, I'm going to start with some yellow. I mean, otherwise known as white. I got some white and just a tiny, going to touch the brush in with the corner of my brush to get a little bit of yellow and a tiny bit of red.
That was white, yellow, and red. Okay.
White, yellow, red. It could be even more colorful than that, but for now, that's okay. Okay. And then I'm going to come on, bring it down here. It's a little bit more red as it goes lower, in my opinion. But this can be forgiving because let's face it, the people who look at your painting are not going to be looking at your reference pick at the same time, right? So you can set yourself free a little bit. Now, if I had thought of it, I would have shown you this. If you spritz your painting, then you'll be able to blend your edges a little bit more as you work down, because some of these are soft edges and some are hard edges. So if you want a soft edge, give yourself a little bit of, working time by spritzing your paint. All right.
Does that only work, Sue, when you spritz it to blend it, if the paint is dried, it won't work, or will it still work if the paint is dry?
It won't work if it's dry. We'll get to that with the background. I'll show you a couple of things. Okay, now I picked up a little green, so I'm cleaning my brush so I don't have that. I'm not spoiling my new color, but I'm looking now at this this shadow. It's actually kind of an orange right around there. So that's where I'm working now. So for that, I'm going back to my little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and some white. And I'm just going to do like an amorphous thing down here because that's what it is. And there is a little bit of an edge of it over here. I'm just being playful though. I'm not being exact. So then I'm going to go back into my vase at this time, picking up a little of that gray and mixing it with the color I just used to move this through here. So as long as this value is nice and light, it's going to give me a lot of freedom in the color of the vase.
And this is the beauty of it. It's kind of like negative painting, where you're cutting out the shape. It's very painterly.
Sure is. It is negative space painting. Thank you, Julie. You're so right. All right. All right. So getting around here, and this really is a soft edge here. So I'm going to pick up some of this gray from before and soften that up. More than I wanted. Hang on. Okay. Looking back and forth to see how can I make that move more like glass. I'm going to stop there with the glass because I know that when I come back in with that highlight, that it's going to look a lot more like glass too. Let's look into this gray in the shadow because of course, when you put a shadow down, it's going to give it a lot more presence. Like Julie, what was the word you used? It grounded it. Yeah, setting it down. I love that. That's cool. Let's see if this is wet. I can blend this in. So I want a darker gray, but it's not a black at all. That's kind of green. I don't really want it that green. I'm going to add some red and a little blue. I could go further, but I really want to not run out of time.
You're at 38 minutes after, so about 20 more minutes.
20 minutes, we got this.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. Now, if you do this kind of painting and you thin your paint, you're going to get that red coming through and it's going to make that color alive, whatever you're painting. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can thin it with water, or you can even thin it with matte medium or any kind of a gloss medium, whatever you like. I use matte medium a lot because I always varnish my paintings when I'm done to unify the sheen that's on the painting. So I'm going to put some of this. I can't put it on my palette or it'll slither right down. I use a painter's drop cloth that you buy at like Lowe's or Home Depot on my table, so I can mix paint like right on the table if I want to. It's great. Okay, let's move into our negative space painting around our flowers. And then if I want to, I can come on back in and put some lighter petals on at the end. If I don't get to it, you'll know that if I have another session with this painting, that's what I would do. That needs more white. That's like totally too dark, isn't it? I'm going to switch to a larger brush because I got some ground to cover, right? This is day number 8. And I'm going to let some of that background red show through. In the reference, I can really see that table edge on the left, but I can't really see it on the right. So I'm going to show it on the left and not on the right because I have the freedom to do that.
Just to answer Lynn has a question about using GAC as a retarder. GAC won't work as a retarder, but it does thin the paint without losing the binding quality of the paint. I use GAC to kind of same way that Sue's using matte medium, but retarder is a different product if you want things to stay wet longer than a retarder. And I actually add retarder to my GAC sometimes.
Retarder is great stuff. I only use GAC for preparing like a wood panel before I put gesso on it, but that's very fun to learn. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't try that. Now,
You ever use retarder?
It's what?
Do you ever use retarder?
Yes, I do use retarder occasionally. It's great stuff. I'm going to just try to keep that moist while I work around. And I'm going to be moving to a lighter, all the way over to white over here, I hope. So let's see how that. Could you hear that? I meant to mute my phone before I start. Okay, good.
A question from Diane. Why do you put GAC on a wood panel before gesso?
I just learned about this. It seals up the wood so that you get a smoother surface. And I just started doing it. So I'm not a pro in that area and I can't really make too many claims about it, but because I'm not real fussy about surfaces.
The gesso will soak into the wood, which is kind of a pain, right? So then it just sits on top once if you've sealed the wood with GAC.
Right, right.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, GAC, great stuff. What a funny name though.
Yeah, and a great question from Eddie. There's about 8 or 9 different types of GAC, and there's one that's made for cloth. The one that I use for thinning my paint is GAC 500 and a mix of 100. 500 alone is fine. But yeah, go to the Golden website and you can read up about each different type of GAC, 100, 200, 300, etc.
Yay. Okay, now here I'm getting close and I don't have to leave a line here, but I think I might try it just for fun. Normally I would like kind of drag this straight down using my whole arms. Sometimes I'll get fussy and go in this way, to truth be told. Okay, if I don't like it, I can paint over it. And that's like the beauty of acrylic paint. Like that. All right, now I got it. This side I tried to keep wet because I want a soft edge here. Okay.
How big is your brush? Is that about a 3/4?
This is a number 8, a silver Bristleton flat, but you'll find, I'm sure most of you know this anyway, but depending on the manufacturer, those numbers are not going to be the same size brush in every manufacturer. Doggone it. So you kind of have to choose a manufacturer that you like. And I think I told you guys that I really like these the Aspen brushes. I'm always looking for the holy grail of brushes. I'm always wrecking brushes, but I take good care of my brushes, but I just use them hard. I keep them clean. I use Dawn Power Wash, that foaming power wash. Do you guys get that in Canada?
Does not ring a bell.
No? That stuff is great for cleaning brushes.
Oh.
And then I learned from, I think his name is Daniel Edmonton, that when you wash a brush, you get it soaked up with whatever brush you're using, and then grab the bristles and work it gently in like a figure 8. Yeah. And that works the soap way down to the ferrule, and rinse and repeat until it's coming clean water.
Awesome.
Okay. Now, a couple things that are going to make this look more like glass. If I had a water line, I would put a water line in. I don't, so I'm not going to. But I do have some highlights down in here that I'm going to just get in there for you. And then I might work back into the petals. Okay. I got that. I got a vertical. This is just plain white, guys, just white. And this goes over here. There's a highlight here.
Debbie's wondering why you taped the sides. Will you be finishing them with black after, or have already finished them with black?
This, I often do that because I'm such a messy painter that I get globby paint. And then if I go to paint the sides, it's still kind of lumpy. But so that's why I painted this, but I have this actually taped to my board here too, to get it vertically so you could see it, because my easel doesn't lift up that high. So that kind of explains that, I think. Does it? I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna put some matte medium in this white and just use it to bring up these colors, because if I paint over that, you can even paint this over your stems to make it look like glass.
Oh,
Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Look at that. It's like,
cool.
ooh, easy peasy.
How did you do that again?
That is matte medium mixed with white to just make sort of a glaze, just a glaze.
Yeah.
That was a little too thick. So guess what? Magic paper towel, take it off. Okay, let's go back into, as long as we have time. If you guys have any more questions though, I'm just gonna keep building up these petals. And actually, while I've got this glaze, I'm gonna soften that color because it's really very, very light back there. Okay.
Looking good.
Anybody have any questions while I'm gonna work back? I'm just gonna build more layers of petals while we talk. We can talk while I do this. If you have any questions at all, I'm here for you.
So you have a mentorship group starting in July for aspiring artists. What do you hope to do with them, to kind of help them with?
Well, much like what we're doing here, I want it to be like a comfortable atmosphere where there's no judgment, where you can ask questions and we can give each other feedback. I think I'm a natural encourager. I really love helping people reach their goals. And so that's going to be a focus, is, figuring out what you want to do and where you want to go with it. And we'll just, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. So
that's awesome.
I've had so many people take me under their wing and just share. I feel like sharing what you know is what artists do really well. That's what I love about the Mastrius model, to be honest with you. Julie, I didn't tell you this before, but because painting is such a solitary thing, and having groups like that really kind of combats that sense of isolation.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's my experience too, that we learn so much from each other, and then the encouragement of being together is really life-giving.
True. I would like to say, if you have ultramarine blue, that would be a real nice blue to use in this also. It's kind of a purpley blue, and I'm seeing that in these blue hydrangeas. And another thing that you can do after you finish painting your flowers is put, like, if this is a real light edge, put something dark behind it, and then you'll get more of a pop. If it's the dark edge, put something light behind it. Okay, so I like to stand back from my paintings a lot. At this phase, you stand back and say, okay, well, where did I need to work a little more? And then, as some painters have taught me, work at the next thing, work at what bothers you most and bring that up, and then step back and look again, and allow yourself to make mistakes. And that's okay. That's part of the painting process. I used to say to myself, every painting goes through an ugly phase. So when you start expecting that, it doesn't feel so discouraging. When you get to that, you just know if you push through it, you're gonna end up with something that you're happy with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to a slightly darker, maybe blue-gray, pick up something that I used before. Add a little, this is kind of green. I want it to be more blue. So a little of both blues.
A question from Edie. I came late to the live, but I'm wondering what substrate you're using to mix your paints on.
Oh, this palette is, I actually use a couple of different types of palettes. This one is a disposable paper palette. I think it's 12 by 16. It gives me a lot of room to work with. But I also use, sometimes I'll use glass for oils, and for acrylics, I you probably missed this, but I have my tape, all my work surfaces are covered with plastic. I buy those rolls of drop cloths that they sell for painters, like wall painters, and I just cut it down to size for my tables, and then you can actually mix right on that.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
When you're done. And I like these stay wet palettes too, but I find that I work really fast, so it's I don't really need to fuss with the sponges and all that stuff that's in there, but they are nice to have. They are really nice.
Couple comments about your palette starting to look like a bouquet of flowers.
That's probably I wanted to do abstract flowers. I should probably just do
So freezer paper, parchment paper, wax paper, those all work pretty well.
Yep. Great. So let's get a little more going on up here. Well, that's a little looks muddy to me. So if you put something down and you don't like it, you can spritz it and take a paper towel and just get rid of it. It's like, isn't that great? It's so liberating to know that you can either let it dry and paint over it, or just wipe it right off if you're quick about it. Other thing that I should mention it before we run out of time is, when you finish this, you're going to see some of that old chalk line. All you have to do is spritz it. It'll go right away. It's gone. So that's kind of nice about working with the chalk. Okay. Straighten that with a dirty paper towel. All right. I'm stepping back. I feel like compositionally, this would be nicer if that were a little higher there. Do you feel that? I feel that right now. So I'm gonna just go ahead and extend my green flower up here, because I can, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it real high here. I think it just needs to have a little bit more going on up there.
Yeah, just a reminder, good question from Edie. This recording is going to go on our YouTube channel. So just search up Mastrius in YouTube, and this will be up there within a day or two. So you can watch it as much as you like. And then we'll be meeting back together next week, Friday, to look at everyone's paintings.
I can't wait to see what you do.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. So Sue and I will be back here. You'll get another reminder email of it. If you can come, that's great. We're going to showcase everyone's work, so you can send it to Mastrius or post it on social media with hashtag Mastrius Painting Challenge, and we're going to collect them up, and then we're going to go through them all and celebrate how unique they are.
Yeah, sounds fun. Sounds so fun. I love prizes. What can I say? I love prizes.
Oh, and there's prizes. That's right. We're going to give away a Mastrius painting apron and a 1-month recording library membership to a non-member.
Ooh, that's a great prize. Ooh.
Yeah, we do weekly events every Thursday, and all the recordings are in that library. We do demos, 1-hour live critiques, panel discussions, interviews, these painting challenges, everything.
Nice. Well, I'm kind of doing Mastrius too, so I'm enjoying getting to know all the features. So it's fun.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on.
Me too. I kind of got quiet here because I ran out of stuff to say. I don't know what else to say to you guys. If you have questions, I'm here.
Yeah, there's some comments. Thank you so much for this wonderful class from Rhonda. Thank you. That was awesome. You're a great teacher, Sue, from Karen. And Karen says, that was a wonderful class. Thanks so much, Sue. Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
We've got 5 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, are you going to keep going?
I sure can. I sure can. Let's look at making this edge better. Let's look at maybe brightening this up and going with a little bit of a darker gray behind it and see what happens, just for fun. I think I can do that in a couple of minutes. Okay. So
Yeah.
first I'm going to brighten this up. So I'm going to grab some nice bright white with my green, a little tiny yellow, and really hit that value. Just to see what we get. Okay. Now
Awesome.
I'm going to go back in. So I'm going to put a little more matte medium out on my table over here. You can't see. And I'm going to mix a gray. It's just a little darker. So that's going to be more blue, phthalo blue here, and red, and some white. A little bit more red, a little more yellow. Here we go. Am I off camera? Julie, can you see what I'm mixing?
Yeah, we can see your palette perfectly.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and lighten this. Okay, so is that a neutral gray? I don't think so. I'm seeing it's too green. So it takes a little practice to get used to seeing what colors are in a gray, but you'll get it. You have to play with it. And you say, okay, it's too green, add the opposite, red. Now it's too red. So I would add some yellow. I'm going to need more white. Bear with me. I have how many minutes?
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. We got this, you guys. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Paint flying.
Awesome.
Okay, now we're getting it. Oh, phthalo blue attacked me there. Let's get some matte medium in there. And just see if we can get a little brighter thing going on back there.
Oh, pretty.
You can work back and forth on these things, right? If you don't have to get it right the first time.
Answering Edie's question about the little square with the white brush strokes, Sue was showing us different shapes she could make with her flat brush by twisting it and fixing it.
Right.
She talked about what shapes the brush wanted to make, which I thought was really cool.
Thanks, Julie. Okay, now I'm going to use more and more matte medium to blend this into what I already have there. Okay, so this is a little bit different than the previous one that I did for the sample. I'm adding white to the wet paint here, and I'm hurrying, so you can see, I can see now that's very green. It's a little heavy on the phthalo blue, but you know what? Sometimes it's okay to hurry through something and get it down quickly, and you have some results that you didn't expect. So that's fun. Let it be painterly. Let the brush strokes show. That's a lot of fun. Okay, does that? And now I can go back in. I bet I have 1 minute, right?
Yeah.
I can go back in and even lighten that further. I ran out of white, sadly, but that's what I would do. I can let this dry now and go back in and hit that again and work with the darks and lights to make it have more depth to it, simply by making this lighter than that, this darker than that. Does that,
brilliant.
That make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it's a great idea. All right, well, that's fantastic. It looks beautiful. There's been so many comments. We should scroll through, Sue. Everyone loves your teaching style. I'm excited for your group starting in July.
Well, I want y'all to join me. It's gonna be fun. I need you as much as you need me, I think.
Awesome. And just a reminder, next week, Friday, we'll be back together with Sue. Same time, you'll get an email with a link. If you want your painting to be in the showcase, which we hope that you'll do, email it to, I put it in the chat, email it to socials@mastrius.com or post it with hashtag Mastrius Painting Challenge. but like by 11 a.m. Mountain time, so that we have 1 hour to put together the PowerPoint so that we can share it. We just need that 1 hour. And then we'll give away some prizes next week. This has been awesome, Sue. You're fantastic.
You are too. You're great. Thanks for assisting me, and everybody, thanks for joining me, and have fun painting. Be easy on yourself. Okay.
That's right. Enjoy the journey. We're in this together.
There you go. Thanks, Julie.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.